Should I marry for green card? Now, of course, when you hear that, you might think, well, of course, I'm not going to get into a fake marriage. But believe it or not, we have received calls, not many, but a few calls. And people say, I'm thinking about getting married to, this person. When I get that feeling like they don't really know that person, then I start digging. I start asking questions. And the reason why, as an attorney, I need to verify to the best of my ability that this is a real marriage. And look, at the end of the day, because there could be some people who say, oh, but so and so will take my case. Well, okay, go to them. Our law firm does not accept any fake marriage type case. I've heard horrible stories. And what we do as a team is that we try our best to verify the authenticity of those documents. It can be difficult. For example, tax returns. I've heard of a story where a local Houston attorney was at least indicted, okay, but I don't know the truth on that one. But they had mentioned fake tax returns, and I can imagine it's difficult. But at the end of the day, for you, if you are considering to get married to maybe it's like a friend or someone you've known, short time period, and it's not really for love. I know it's difficult to get married and find the right match. It's difficult, but what is more difficult is if you put yourself in a situation where you're in front of the USCIS officer, and we all know you're going to have the interview together. Okay. This is a situation more specifically about when you're here in the United States. Now, I still recommend not to enter into a fake marriage, regardless of pathway, because, however, please note that for consular processing, the interview is only for the beneficiary, the immigrant, the foreign national. Is not a joint interview when you're abroad. So I know that's kind of strange in my opinion. I guess the government doesn't want to force a US citizen or the sponsor to be at the interview because it's more expense. I get it. So that's tip number one. Hot tip number two, provide joint financial statements. This might sound weird that I'm saying this because you might think, well, we have an account, but we don't really use it, or, there's no intention behind that joint account. Really need to put some thought to it. Okay, folks, the reason you're providing a statement together is because you want to show that you're living together. It's not just the address, but like you're living a life together as spouses. Okay, no matter what the heterosexual or I don't want to use that like same-sex marriage. I think that's a more proper phrasing from what I understand. Either way, you need to have the account together and use it, okay? And I highly recommend using it as the primary account. Now, the USCIS is not saying that you need to have every single bank account or savings checking account together. It's really just one, okay? So, folks, even if you have a credit card that's together, I recommend paying that joint credit card, or at least even if it's a one-person account credit card, using the joint bank account. And really, because you're going to tie things together here, okay? Financially for the USCIS officer. You want to make it as easy as possible for the officer to make a decision on your case. So if you're going to have separate accounts, you're going to make it more difficult. Why even do that? Why spend $1,760 government fees on this and you don't give yourself the best chance? And when I say you, I mean many of you out there, unfortunately, because we do get a lot of calls. And when we need to refile, we typically recommend to refile the case unless there's like a marriage fraud finding. Then that's a whole complicated thing. That's why I share tip number one: do not enter into a fake marriage. Okay, I'm not saying don't enter into an arranged marriage where it's based on custom and culture of your country or religion. I totally get that, but you still need to prove with documentation. Okay, so that's tip number two. Of course, there's so many tips I can share with y'all, but these are what I think right now, at least the top 3 tips. So let's get into it. Third tip right here is that I know you get married and then, you of course share more information with each other and then come to realize, oh, you're not don't have any legal status. So, hey, why not? I'll go sponsor you. I have residency though. I'm not a US citizen. Yes, you can sponsor you can get a sponsor as a resident. That is good. However, here's the tip. Listen in. If you have a resident as a sponsor, it's not going to waive the unlawful presence automatically. Now, the thing here is if you entered with a visa, then I highly recommend that your sponsor, who's a resident, apply to become a US citizen. And unfortunately, if you file as a resident or your sponsor files as a resident and then, upgrades and becomes a US citizen, you have to refile a petition, okay? So you're going to have to spend another $535. And a sponsor as a resident, you cannot file the 485 form at the same time. That's a lot of hot tips right there. If the visa bulletin F2A shows current, which it does right now this month, then you can file and you have maintained your status, then you can file the 485. But it's at the same time as a petition. But the visa bulletin changes month to month. So I highly recommend that the sponsor become a US citizen, especially when you as a foreign national has entered with a visa, because then you don't have to have the interview abroad. However, if the sponsor is a resident and does not apply to become a US citizen, even if you enter with visa, you're going to have to go back to your country for the interview. Most likely, okay? Talk to your lawyer, talk to a professional. Every situation is different. I just share a lot of nuanced tips here, so you might lose track of it, to be honest. So that's why it's better to get verification, speak with a lawyer. Because the kicker here is if most people that call us, they fail to maintain their status, aka they overstay. Now, of course, if you maintain your status, you enter the visa, and your spouse is a resident, and your visa bulletin is current, look at that. That's like 4 things to consider and verify, at least 4 things. Then you can file the 485, okay? So that's just a lot to keep up with, and that's one main reason to hire a lawyer, to verify that for you. So I just shared a lot on that third tip. I recommend you do is you save this video so you can go back to it later. And then you can go ahead and share it with a friend. If you know that they're going through something similar, go ahead and share the video with your friends. I greatly appreciate it because it's just one way that our channel can continue growing. And with more people tuning in, then of course, I feel more comfortable sharing more tips. And there's a load of them, of course. So I hope you stay safe and have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Have a great day.